Topping off today's show, we'll tell you about some controversy surrounding the holiday commemorating the birthday of the late Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. What is it really like being 65, and how many older Americans are financially ready to take on the burdens that come with being a senior citizen? Well, Sonya Masingale will have some answers in the first of a two-part report on aging. February is Black History Month, and today we'll have the first of 4 reports entitled Pause for Pride. Our feature today, Congressman Bill Gray of Pennsylvania. Hello everyone, I'm Rob Hinton. We'll have those stories and more today on Folks.
Everybody says folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just people all over the world. Folks to live, folks got to give, folks got to care, ooh, folks got to share. Our world is small, so very small. What touches one of all, ooh, touches us all. To stay alive, just to survive, folks got to be in harmony. Everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just folks, everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just folks.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Folks. 2 weeks ago, January 20th, the nation celebrated the birthday of the late Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. It marked the first time that Dr. King's birthday was recognized as a legal holiday. Whether or not it should be a holiday, well, that debate is over. But how the day should be observed is causing a lot of controversy among members of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board. The East Baton Rouge Parish School Board did not declare Dr. King's birthday a school holiday until January 16th, the Thursday before the official Monday holiday. Even then, the vote among school board members was very close in favor of the holiday, 7-5. The 5 school board members who voted in favor of a school holiday were the 3 black board members, Eva Lagarde, Frank Millican, school board president Press Robinson, and board members Nelson Clothier, Donna Desautels, Sue Fowler, and Mike McCleary. At that January 16th meeting, Millican said to the board, quote, "This is the first holiday for black Americans. If we never vote another holiday, we should vote for this one." School board member Eva Lagarde said, quote, "It's not just a celebration. This is honoring a great American. He gave his life for what he believed in. It's not a matter of race. It's just a matter of humanitarianism." On the other side of the issue, there was school board member Robert Metter, who thought King would better be honored if children spent the day in school. And he said that the holiday would cost the school system $175,000. The following week, School Superintendent Raymond Arvison recommended to the school board's Management and Planning Committee that in the future, the holiday commemorating Dr. King be observed in school. The superintendent said, quote, "I think it was appropriate action, even though some board members did not agree to have the out-of-school holiday this week. But I believe now it is appropriate to observe it within the school system and not have a holiday on this day next year." The committee voted 3-3 on the holiday. The 3 black school board members, all members of this committee, voted against the superintendent's recommendation. The 3 members in favor of the superintendent's proposal are white. The matter was then sent to the entire school board, which met this past week. Several citizens attending the meeting voiced their opinions.
That I considered Dr. Martin Luther King a great man. Not only do I, others like me and others unlike me feel that he was a great man. He's still a great man in his death. Because the things that he did to stand up and face violence, I don't know of any other human being who has ever done this. Some of us quoted Lincoln. Lincoln was forced to free the slaves, to save the country. Martin Luther King was not forced to do anything that he did. He did it because he believed in people, not only black people or brown people, but people of all races and all colors. Black children have not had an image, so some of you say. You just spoke about the image that the teacher brought to all of the students all over the world. And surely, Dr. Martin King brings a special meaning to the black children of this community, the children of your community, of your district, and of your district, and of many other districts. Some of you, I can very easily see why you might have a particular stand, and I respect you for your stand, because I think we have, in jest on many occasions, spoken about the number of blacks in certain districts and the number of whites. And this is not a black-white issue, although Dr. King is black and I'm black. But he was a man of great honor, of integrity, and fearless. And if for no other reason, he should be honored. And if it takes a holiday to honor him, and that's how you give honor, then that's the way it should be. And I know my voice is a word is in the darkness or in the wilderness or whatever the quotation is. But if ever you had any conscience whatsoever, if at any time in your life God will give you that kind of skill to think, then think now upon what I've said. The thing which offends me most sincerely is that at the very time when we're trying to talk about getting along with each other and respecting each other, then we seem to be going backwards and disrespecting each other or disrespecting our wishes or our beliefs. I don't want that to happen. What's wrong with a slogan starting, save a day? Save a day. You know what that could mean? Save a holiday from school on that particular day. Let's not becloud the issue, but let's be realistic. People are watching. East Baton Rouge Parish, they're watching all of us.
I do believe that we can allow this discussion one day for Martin Luther King. It isn't going to hurt us to consider it and to give it. It's time that we really accepted all people in this country. And that's what it's all about. We have some presidents and days, and I know that we don't honor them any longer, but we can afford one time to honor one black, because he didn't ask for black people only, he asked for all of us. So now I ask you to consider it.
Board member Eva Lagarde had this to say.
Since it has been stated what each member's responsibility and why you're on this board, I'm on this board to keep children's school also. However, I am obligated, compelled, to also see the recognition of any man or woman, be she black or white, and in this instance, if he happens to be white, that the proper recognition be given. And for that reason, I feel that it is my obligation to also speak up for the holidays for Martin Luther King. All of the other reasons that I gave at the last board meeting, I'm not going to repeat because they're already recorded. And I think it is appropriate that it be discussed today, and that it does relate to the calendar, no matter what our procedure is.
School board member Jim Talbot spoke out against the holiday.
My job here is not to debate whether or not the merits of him as an individual. My job, as I see it, is this. I think the kids can learn in class, and I'm going to maintain that posture. I don't want them on the streets.
But after all was said, the board voted 9-3 in favor of the superintendent's recommendation. After the meeting, we talked to two of the board members about the decision.
There's really no reaction. We had took this issue in committee meeting, and we had come to the conclusion, since the state legislation say that at least every other year. So we chose not to push it until we see what the governor's going to do. If the governor's going to declare a holiday next year, we'll come back and try to get a consent to consider, and hopefully those 5 board members that was on there last time won't be on there next time. We might be able to get it. So.
Because the holiday is celebrated every 2 years, do you think that there still will be a day out of school for the children?
Yeah, and the thing about the cost of the school system, when you have a holiday in the calendar, it don't cost the school system anything because the teachers and the students are not paid or counted as a school day. The holiday is in the calendar, not counted as a school day. So it wouldn't be no cost to the school system unless they got generous and let off all the employees.
I think it's unfair, and I don't think that they really comprehend and understand the greatness of the man and what he has done, not just for us, but for whites. And I think that the children should have an opportunity to be able to participate in all of the activities during the day that they had, that we have. And because in the classrooms, some teachers are going to talk about it, but for the vast majority of the teachers are not going to say anything. So really, that thing about let it be taught in the classroom, that's just a cop-out.
Do you see this issue coming back before the board?
If I'm on this board, I certainly will, because I will bring it back again.
Okay, time now for a question from the Folks Almanac. This Louisiana author wrote the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. Do you know who he is? Well, we'll have the answer for you later in the program.
At one time, growing old in America was a pretty grim expectation. We worked longer and our lifespans were shorter. Revolutionary medical techniques, Social Security and pension plans have improved our way of life somewhat. But the future is uncertain at best. We are an aging population. About 12% of the national population is now 65 or older, and that figure will probably double by the year 2000. In addition to the financial woes now facing aging Americans, there are numerous psychological aspects of life that we can become familiar with and hopefully in doing so, provide better care for ourselves as we age and our aging parents. This is Sharlo Senior Center, a Baton Rouge recreational facility located in a housing development that's partially subsidized by the government. The center is directed by Pat Stagg, who says that financial worries are only part of the problem facing aging Americans today.
Boredom is, I think, the most acute thing out here, and it's chronic. It's always. They're limited physically by what they can do, eyesight, arthritis that limits their use of their hands. They still have alert and active minds. Many of them read a lot. The library does a large service for them, bringing books out. But to go out and buy something they're interested in and doing, or just doing something simple as needlework, many of them can't, and television just isn't a substitute for using your hands.
What are some of the activities that you do here?
Oh, we do ceramics. We have a large ceramic group. We have Meals on Wheels here. We have coffee here all day, and we play card games, canasta. We play Yahtzee, which is a favorite, and dice games. They like dice games. We have crossword puzzles, and we have jigsaw puzzles. I have trouble getting them motivated into doing anything unless it's free and it's food. They seem to never get enough of good food, something special. They get a lot of plain food, and they get enough to nourish them and to make it. But any of those extras, they're not interested in crafts that I can find. I hear some of them say, well, why don't you? And I'll do something and no one will show up. But they say it's because they can't see to do something like to thread a needle, or their hands hurt too much to work on something.
What would it take for you to improve some of your services to the senior citizens that come here?
Volunteer teachers, people that want to come in and maybe give one day a week or one 3-hour period a week and do workshops on anything from basket making to wreath making, any subject at all, any craft is what would help me. And I would think eventually help them, because I think working with your hands is one of the best therapies you can do, even if they hurt.
Many of the elderly are able to lead active lives, but when illness strikes, even everyday tasks become difficult.
So many of them, They wait for someone to come by to get their mail, to take their trash out, to hang up something that fell off the wall, because they're unable to.
Illness is often unavoidable as we grow older, but we can prepare to confront boredom.
Realizing that getting old is not the end of your life. Many people that retire at 65 have 20 more years that are good, but they've always been taught that they're going to retire and have nothing to do, and they've quit making goals for themselves, they've quit educating themselves. Now, a few find out that they can finally do all those things they ever wanted to do. You know, like one of the couples here goes camping. In fact, they drove a trailer all the way to Alaska and back. And they've learned how to adjust to the economics and the fact that they can still do many things, and they have goals, but they're few. You know, there might be 4 people out of 90 that still have that concept.
What are some of the misconceptions that senior citizens have about their lives?
One of the misconceptions is they think because they're old, they're due something. Just as the blacks and women have said, well, we've been unprivileged and have lacked the opportunities, and therefore you should pay us. Well, they get old and think, well, now that I'm old, society owes me something, and that's a misconception. They don't consider themselves an active part of the social community or their immediate community.
Katheryn and Lloyd Prine, residents of Sharlo Terrace, married for a little over a year, have a very positive outlook about their lives.
We've been traveling mostly since we're married. We went on these trips all over the world, and we love fishing.
Football, playing dominoes.
We went to the center there. We have 90 to 100 people at our center in LaPorte, and it's close. I feel a closeness here, but not many of them use this one. We're going to try to get them to come out and use it, because happiness is not sitting in your room and looking at 4 walls. The happiness is here for them if they'll come out and get it.
It's like helping other people.
Helping to deliver meals to some of their neighbors unable to make the short trip to the Sharlo Center is just one of the ways that Katheryn and Lloyd help to spread some of their happiness to others. Katheryn feels that depression is one of the biggest problems facing many senior citizens.
Depression, so many of them give up. They shouldn't, but they kind of give up. A lot of them won't come out. Not even where we were, there's some. They would just sit in their rooms, but there's things to do. These centers are wonderful. But all these travelings we did, all in Alaska, they had a beautiful center. No one used it. There wasn't anyone there to use that. And 2 or 3 of them we went to in Visalia, California. People don't use it like we do. There was more there, but they didn't use it like we do. You didn't feel a closeness. I don't know what was wrong, but there wasn't a closeness there.
In spite of some of the problems facing the aging, Pat feels that there is much to be learned from the senior citizens that she serves at Sharlo Center.
It's inspiring. You know, I might come in, you know, real depressed because my life has been difficult. And I get in here and it's nowhere near as difficult as what they've had to deal with. Their courage and their strength that they come out with and deal with things like the ones that are active here with the Meals on Wheels, they have just as many pains as the people that are staying home and being waited on. But they find that they're happier by still giving.
Although there's never been a better time to grow old in America, illness, boredom, and depression continue to be problems that the aging must face. Next week, we'll talk with several experts that will discuss with us the physical and psychological aspects of growing older.
February is Black History Month, and to commemorate the occasion, we have chosen not to focus so much on history, but instead on 4 people who have given us reason to pause for pride. Our first report features one of the nation's top black lawmakers. His name is William Gray, Congressman William Gray. Since 1978, he has represented Pennsylvania's 2nd Congressional District. On January 4th, 1985, the House Democratic Caucus elected Gray the 5th chairman of the House Budget Committee, making him one of the most powerful men in Washington.
I don't take it seriously at all, because in my line of work, you better not start reading the press clippings and taking them serious, because if you do, you're going to miss the target. I've been elected by my colleagues to help shape fiscal policy and budgetary policy of the United States House of Representatives. It's a tremendous opportunity, particularly in your 4th term in Congress, to be able to chair such a committee where you're really deciding what are going to be the priorities of the federal budget, where you're going to invest the $1 trillion of taxpayers' money, how much you're going to spend in housing, how much you're going to spend in education, how much for national defense, how much you're going to spend to rebuild the roads and to help with natural disasters like hurricanes and flooding. Those are the kinds of decisions that you handle in the budget. The budget is the entire federal government. And so being a Baptist preacher, I look at it as really an opportunity to help determine where our treasure is and thus where our heart is.
Gray also holds the distinction of being the first black to chair this powerful committee.
I think it's a challenge, being the first black, a challenge to perform, a challenge to be an example for others in my community. And hopefully, by the work that I've done, I'll lay a foundation so that others may be able to go a little bit higher. And I really see my work as chairman of the Budget Committee as a continuation of the work of others who've gone before me. I mean, the work of a Gus Hawkins or a Perrin Mitchell or Bill Clay or Lou Stokes or an Adam Clayton Powell or Charles Dawson, who through the years have demonstrated leadership and qualities of excellence, which therefore I think influenced my colleagues to have faith that I could do the job.
In addition to his career in politics, Congressman Gray is also a minister. Since 1972, he has been the senior minister at the Bright Hope Baptist Church in North Philadelphia. In addition to your duties as a lawmaker, you are also a minister. But there are some people who feel that politics and religion should not mix, citing the moral majority. But you appear to be doing both successfully. How do you manage?
Well, I just think that, if faith is real, if religion is real, it's not just something that you shout up from the pew, sing up from the choir loft, and preach up from the pulpit. It's something that you live every day in every aspect of your life. And so therefore your faith, your religion ought to inform your politics, just like it ought to inform your recreation, your work, and every other aspect. And so I see no conflict between being a person of faith and also being involved in the political arena. Because in a real sense, one could say, what are you doing with the budget? You are deciding where to put the federal resources, and one of those concerns is with the least of these, our brethren. And so in a real sense, it gives you an opportunity to minister at a higher level if you want to look at it that way. But of course, I don't look at it as my creed, my faith. We are in a pluralistic society. And one of the things that you've got to be careful about is that you don't legislate your own dogma, your own creed, your own particular traditions.
Congressman Gray spent his early childhood years at 949 20th Street in Baton Rouge. Nothing left now but memories. But Gray says never in his wildest dreams did he think he would grow up to be a legislator in the U.S. House of Representatives.
No idea of that. When I was born at Lady of the Lake Hospital and lived at 949 North 20th Street with my grandparents, no, I never had any idea that would happen. And in fact, in those days, that was far removed for a black person to aspire to doing those kinds of things. But I think that one of the things that it demonstrates is how far we've come as a nation, how we've progressed, and also that the dream that a Martin Luther King Jr. had is becoming real throughout this country. It's not fully realized. It may not ever be perfectly realized, but when you look around and see in New Orleans a Dutch Morial, when you look in Atlanta and see an Andrew Young, and before him a Maynard Jackson, Carolina, a Harvey Gantt, when you see the way the South has become a land of prosperity and booming industry and economic development because folks stopped fighting with each other over the color of skin and started working in order to build for the common good, I think that the dream is being realized, and I remember Martin King, and I remember my time here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and only in America can one have dreams and hopes and visions, and only in America could we bring about change.
Gray is a strong critic of the apartheid movement in South Africa. He recently visited there and shared with us his thoughts about the trip.
It was a trip that I had to take because last year I was the author of the Anti-Apartheid Act, which basically imposed sanctions on the South African government, bipartisanly and overwhelmingly supported, which got the administration to change its policy and the president to apply limited executive sanctions. What we wanted to do was to find out what was the reaction of the South African people to that change of policy. Not just the apartheid government headed by President Botha, but also the majority population, the labor leaders, the religious leaders, the community, the parents, to see what their reaction was. And secondly, to find out firsthand, had there been any progress made in ending apartheid, dismantling it, and were there any plans for power sharing and moving to end apartheid. Unfortunately, I came back with some impressions that were discouraging. The first one was the amazing hostility that the majority population had toward America because they perceived America as being the #1 partner or co-conspirator with apartheid. I remember one woman that I was talking with, a black woman in Soweto, trying to tell her that Americans don't support apartheid, and she said, well, why did your president say when our children were shot down that they were creating violence and it was black policemen who shot them anyway? And so I think we've got a major perception problem there, which is hurting America's interest in the long term.
Congressman Bill Gray of Pennsylvania. James Brady, chairman of the Louisiana Democratic Party, said Bill Gray is a dynamic and hardworking congressman who strongly believes in the principles of the Democratic Party. We're proud that he's a native son of Louisiana. So are we. Okay, time now to answer the question from the Folks Almanac. The question is, this Louisiana author wrote the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. Do you know who he is? Well, the answer, Ernest Gaines. Well, that's our show for this week. Thanks for watching. Next week, Sonya will have part 2 of her report on aging, and our Pause for Pride report will feature Fran Marsh Ellis of Baton Rouge. Until then, be happy and make this week a good one. Bye-bye.